Okay. Wow, we are here already. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker this morning, Simone Raines. Simone Raines is an Upper Peninsula native. Mm-hmm. So see, that answers it, Simone. They know. Simone has done a body worker of 33 years, a chiropractor of 19 years, traditional Chinese metaphysical practitioner. Simone has practiced that. And also Simone does energy work since the age of 4. She has done energy work. Simone is the wife and mother of 3 children. But you got girls or boys, or all boys and all girls?
No. Vincent, who's 21, Lillian, who's 18, and then Andre, who's 5.
All right.
Same daddy, just
all right then. Well, with that, we welcome you, Simone. Come on down here and give us some wisdom.
This will add to the visual.
Should I move over there?
It's all right. Oh, okay. You've been there, so.
Yeah, I've been there. I know.
And I'll give you something special since you're missing out. You know, the real challenge is to keep this to 20 minutes. So, happy Groundhog's Day.
Yeah.
This Tommy Phillips said, 6 more weeks of winter. Like, when has he not said that? And happy Lunar New Year. We're in the year of the wood snake. It's the month of the ox. We're going into the tiger, which actually is spring. Though for us in Michigan, it doesn't seem that way. And thank you to Linda, who got me here. After a recent visit to the Salt Cave. It is impressive, isn't it? It's just wonderful. I sit in there almost every day and go, I can't believe that I built this. And I built it with no tears. It was sweetness that brought me to the salt. I am from the UP, a lake, a sea that has no salt. We as people need salt. It's like, why salt? We need salt. Mm-hmm. Those who have had nothing, they had the ancient wisdom. They would find rocks and they would make soup, rock soup, stone soup.
Yeah.
And you know what was in those rocks? Salt. And there is a big difference between drinking salt water and just a purified water or water with no salt in it. So there is much ancient wisdom that we don't want to forget. We do not want to go into many times over and over. We have fallen into dark ages, and the salt is the enlightenment. The light is in the salt. Breathing is our most important passive and active activity. If somebody is homebound, if they cannot get out, if they cannot move around much, the one thing they can do is breathe, and it's one thing they must do. I notice so many of my patients who are very active, they don't breathe enough. That's why they're at my doorstep, because they're doing all these things, but they're not breathing with it, and they get hurt. You know, why should people that are so healthy get hurt all the time? They're not breathing. And others come to me because they're not moving enough, and they're not realizing that it's right there. It's right there in the middle. They need to breathe. So I did not build my salt cave just to expose people to salt. I built the salt cave to bring them in so that they would breathe and to give them a nice experience, a healing, cozy, comfortable, fun spa-like experience, so that I can bring them to the altar of breathing. So the salty air will help everyone breathe. If somebody is congested, they might not be getting the salt in their lungs in 10 minutes. Now those that can breathe deeply within 10 minutes, The salty air actually is going into their lungs and cleaning them from the inside out. It may take 6 or more visits for someone to really get on top of a difficult respiratory issue, but everyone from the first time they go in will experience relaxation brought to them not by the salt, but by themselves because they started to breathe really deep. Now, they could do that at any time, anywhere, right? 20 minutes of deep breathing. To sit down and to breathe for 20 minutes, you will be more relaxed. And so I find the salt cave, even though it's this pretty spa-like thing that I added to my clinic, it really is it's the sacred space where people sit and breathe. I notice a lot of people fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's in the middle of the day, which it's the first time they're there. They're in a strange experience, you know. They don't. And within minutes they're asleep. That's a real compliment. That they can feel that good and that their body is already healing. So it put them into a deep sleep. Now I've added color, light, sacred geometry to the salt cave to heighten the effect. And what was great about it, I went into the space, I prayed on the space, and the room built itself. My clinic is a very interesting place. It's a 7,000 square foot building on 3.5 acres of gardens that was a photographic studio. So many people in our town of Williamston have memories of taking family photos, and many times they'll bring in photos that were taken in the back gardens. So the rooms are these very large rooms, which is a blessing, but at the same time, what do you do with a really large room, right? To make it warm and comfortable. So I ended up turning the room into 2 rooms. One has a sauna, or a sauna, as the Finnish say, but this is a California sauna, where it's dry heat and salt, which is very popular this time of year. And then the other part is the cave, which fits 6 people, actually 8. We have had 8 in there, 5 adults and 3 children, and we have sandy floors and really comfortable recliners so that people can sleep or they can play. So I named it Zen Spire because it's the inspiration. It's Zen, so relaxation and inspiration, both through the nose and through the soul. One of the things I love most about the salt cave are the colors. So the pink salt, many people think that pink salt comes from the Himalayas, right? Here, Himalayan pink salt. It's not, it's actually from Pakistan. And now it is the #1 export from Pakistan. And those people need our prayers. They have gone through so much in the last couple of years of like natural disasters and whatnot. Yet they sit upon the world's largest reserve of pink salt. Pink salt, as well as gray salt, are the 2 salts that, as far as taking into your body, putting into your water or food, you're going to get the most benefits because they have many other minerals in there. And when I say salt, it's not just the sodium chloride. It's potassium, magnesium, calcium. All of those salts together are what really help balance, what we call electrolytes, help balance our bodies and help transport nutrients in and out of our cells. So the thing called speleotherapy started over tens of thousands of years ago when people found caves that had salt in them, and they dwelled in them and licked the walls. So halotherapy is actually the modern version of that, realizing that the off-gassing of salt in a more closed space is a really good thing. The Russians, about 30 years ago, came up with halotherapy, which is a specialized generator that crushes sodium chloride into microparticles, and then it's pushed into the air at a certain rate so that whatever space that you're in fills up to a certain amount, so it's actually a medicinal treatment. Now, when you leave the salt cave, you don't have a little pile of salt on your head, you don't have to shake yourself out. But you will taste it on your lips, and later that day, if you're washing your hands, you'll notice your skin is slippery. So it's very good for the hair, the eyes, the inside and out. before the Russians came up with the halotherapy, they were bringing in people actually throughout the Middle East and the Balkans, where there were a lot of salt mines. So they found that the salt miners had better respiratory health than anyone in the town, especially other miners. And that's where they started to open up little pockets into these salt mines where the community members would come and stay for a while, whether it was days or even weeks. Later, after the World Wars, they built almost hospitals where people would go down 200-300 feet, and again, days, weeks, even months for respiratory therapy. Obviously, this got a little difficult, and that's why the modern halotherapy has been developed. It is considered a medical treatment in Russia as well as Europe. It is starting to be understood here in the United States, where I've had local doctors send people to our place. I myself had COVID nose for almost a year and a half, meaning that my taste and smell were off. I couldn't make a good sauce to save my life. And things tasted burnt sometimes, or they smelled burnt, or they smelled rotten. And that is a terrible thing to be running around with. You almost want no smell versus, dysfunctional smell. And I went to a salt cave, just as kind of like a little date night thing. And I came out, my sinuses were open. And we went to eat afterwards, and the food tasted wonderful. About a month and a half later, I went for another salt experience because I was getting interested in this. And after that treatment, it was my birthday. I went out to eat, and it was my birthday because I could taste everything. And since then, I have been able to taste and smell just as before. The loss of smell is very anxiety provoking. I think it is a underlying issue that we have not talked about quite a bit, or medically talked about, because it doesn't kill anybody. But it might kill your quality of life. And I have to say, I have had person after person tell me 2 or 3 visits that their smell and taste are back. I can't promise anything, but I can promise deep breathing, relaxation with a visit to the salt cave. And all of you have received a buy one, get one, so bring a friend to the salt cave for half price. I have kept my prices very low for this because I want everybody to be able to experience it. Children 12 and under come free with an adult. And our staff, in the 12 years that I've been there now, we have had 15 children born to our staff. Plus they had children before, so we got a lot of goopy noses. And so everyone brings in their kids, they play in the sand, and everybody feels a lot better. We've had much less sickness amongst the staff since we've had the salt cave. The only contraindication to going into a salt cave really is like an open wound. Not that it would necessarily hurt it, but it would obviously hurt. Or any kind of eye condition where there's an open wound. They do talk about hypertension because you're taking in salt. If you stay in there for 45 minutes, you're going to get about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt that's coming into the body. But because people can breathe so much better, it's almost counteracted. A lot of people have high blood pressure because they're not breathing deeply and using this natural diaphragm to pump the body and to pump the circulation into the lower part of the body. So I'm just so thrilled to be able to offer this kind of treatment in my clinic. It's really the only true halotherapy in the area other than Zoe Spa that has a halo generator in her yoga room. Has anybody here other than ever been in a salt cave? In this area or outside this area?
We actually ran a salt cave in Texas. We just moved back here.
Okay, well, you know.
So we know, and we're just loving this into. But yeah, the benefits are just unbelievable.
So what year was it that you opened your salt cave?
In 19.
Okay.
So
Before.
yeah.
We opened a healing center right when everything closed down.
Oh.
And it was wonderful.
But we never got sick. We didn't get COVID.
Right.
We stayed through the salt. We had a drumming group that met there. I mean, it did change those that were willing to get in there.
It's kind of the last place that you'll get sick.
It was really fabulous, yeah.
Do we have any questions?
I don't know anything about your technique or your clinic, but I'm curious to know what kind of assessment you might do for someone's mineral balance. Does that play into your therapy?
It does. Looking at hair, nails, and skin is probably one of the most important observational parts. We can add it because I am a licensed chiropractor. I can write scripts for people to get lab work. Many times people come in with lab work that is borderline or, okay, good, but they know that they have issues, especially when it comes to iodine. You can do a iodine patch test. So we do a lot like skin tests that give a ballpark, and then symptoms. Doing a symptom survey, and I like to start things like people on just one or two supplements at a time to make sure that it's working correctly. Now that we have genetic testing, I send people in that direction. So there's a place called GeneSight that does genetics testing that is very helpful for whether or not you should take this or that, or if you need like methylated B vitamins. So there's a lot that we know now. So I really see magic and science are really just all the same thing. Mm-hmm. But we don't want to lose our power of observation. That's where the traditional Chinese medicine comes into play. As a chiropractor, we use our hands. We're always using our eyes, maybe more so than medical practitioners, even though they're taught that. We spend a little more time, but we also could miss out by not observing hair, skin, and nails, which we really should take that time. Looking at people's feet is a big one of mine. I don't paint my nails because my nails tell me a lot about how I'm doing. Looking at people's teeth and their tongue really tells what's going on inside. So just the symptom survey with the initial history, scientific labs, and then observation. And then trial and error with some of that. So, I don't like to you need all these things, boom, 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 boom. No, let's start, slow and easy, and making sure that people, why, also asking lifestyle questions of why would you have low minerals? What are you not eating? So looking at the food, that is you're going to get so much better absorption. And again, salt is a big part of that. That is cheap and easy and makes food taste great. Instead of kind of junk salt or just things that have so many other things in them. And then they blame the salt, like the salt is the bad thing that's in there when it's all this other junk. And it's high salt. No. And when you're making food naturally, you don't need that much salt, right?
So when you say salt, most people think of the sodium chloride, right, that we put on our food. But you're talking about other salts like calcium and I can't remember, maybe magnesium.
Right.
Can you explain what that means exactly? Why is that a salt and why does our body need it?
The difference of just a purified sodium chloride, like a Morton salt that doesn't have any other, I don't want to say additives, but it's the way that it's culled from or harvested. So just think if you couldn't get salt anywhere, it's not sold at the stores anymore. Where would you get it? Right? We kind of take salt and sugar for granted like that, right? And if you just put any old stone in a pot of soup, you could end up getting poisoned, right? If you didn't know the difference between stones that actually have salts and minerals in those. Naturally, minerals occur together. So things like Celtic salt, that gray salt, the pink salt with that pink color, that tells you, because it's not pure white, that there's all these other needed elements together. And all of those help each other absorb. So we do need all of the minerals, because those minerals make up our body. They make up our bones in particular. And as a chiropractor, bones are really important to me, and so are muscles and so are organs. That is what our body is actually made out of. And we're always using those. Magnesium, in particular, we use magnesium all the time. So if I was just eating salt instead of salts with an S, salt that actually contains the magnesium, the potassium, I'm deficient, right? And that's actually what we found. So I hate to talk about vitamins and minerals by themselves. We need all of them, and we need them working together. Nature provides it in that way. So eating more fruits and vegetables makes all the difference, especially herbs. Most animals get most of their water through eating greenery that has all the, that's where they get their water from. It's clean instead of drinking out of a puddle. And that has those vitamins, those minerals in a perfect combination that actually absorb and work the way they should. Like I could sit down and but it's always that combination that is in particular of interest. So like black salt has a lot of charcoal in it. Black salt that's from like the Pacific Rim. You'd want to probably soak in that more, or like Epsom salts and Dead Sea salts, because they do have, it's that second word when we talk about minerals. So we got, say, calcium chloride, or calcium carbonate, or calcium citrate. We always have to look at that second word, and that's where the science really comes in, understanding and discerning what that second word means, and whether it's something that's good for us to maybe bathe in versus something good for us to actually ingest. So yeah, it gets real sciencey with that, and I think that's why we just throw out those words, magnesium, calcium, salt, and we haven't really taken the time to understand what that means by a lot of producers that are just making things to sell to us. And yeah, that's a great question with a really long answer that we could keep on going for quite a while.
And the salt that you use isn't our table salt. It's you get in the medical grade. Where
Yes.
It's a specialized salt, specific. We can't do this on our own. We can't take the salts we get a hold of and create a little environment. We need this process.
And it is the difference. So like, I would not want to put this pink salt into my halo generator. There are traces of lead, arsenic, other things in there that if you crushed it to micro levels and you breathed it in, that wouldn't be good. But if you went into a cave that was the natural salt, those heavy metals actually are literally heavy, and they're actually going to stay in the walls, and the lighter constituents are what's going to off-gas into the air. So that's the difference. But yeah, when we start doing things man-made and taking over, that's why we do use the purified, it's like 99.9% purified salt, so that we're not getting any rocks or any other like heavy metals or anything like that in there. That's a good point.
I come from the wood industry and stuff, and I've worked with a lot of plywoods and stuff and things. They come from different areas of the world. I've breathed a lot of that in. When I had my first salt experience, I was about a week away from doing any woodwork, and I thought it was pretty benign. That was nice. I got to meditate for a while. But for the next 2 days, I tasted maple and mahogany wood that was coming out of my lungs because it was liquefied and my body could start moving. But we have friends, we have dads with a cough, we have dads and stuff at workplaces, brothers and sisters. But when they're in this industry, this is the type of thing that can help them. And if they're worried about high blood pressures and stuff because of the doctor telling them about salt, it doesn't go through the same ingestion process. And they can have some safety in knowing that the body's not digesting it the same, and they can still get help in other areas of their body.
And I do ask all those questions for our clinical people coming in, because with the hypertension, it usually, I will sit in there with them and do the breathing exercise, because that's real, they're not moving their middle. That's the real issue at hand. And that salt is the wings beneath their nose, as I say it, to get them to breathe a little bit more. So I feel like I have a couple messages. Is that we can segue to that? I probably.
Linda had a question.
Okay, Linda.
Well, I thought maybe you could tell us some of the things that you brought.
Do we have time for that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Take
How,
time.
how are we doing for time?
We'll take time.
We're good? Okay.
We'll
We
take
got,
time.
yeah, we good.
Okay. Well, so I love things that smell good. And that's why actually losing the sense of smell was really detrimental. I'm sort of, the lesson came first, or the test came first in the lesson, because I've always had a great sense of smell. And to lose it, at least I got to walk in those shoes to understand. It's kind of like being almost like blind or deaf for a year and a half, and then all of a sudden getting back. Our nose knows. I walked into Target not long after with that COVID nose, and I walked in there and I smelled meat, like rotting meat. And all of a sudden I was like, what's going on here? What's wrong? I'm like, well, I'm just in Target, there wasn't anything, but right away, like the old antennas went up. And how I think I'm a pretty typical person. That means that was happening to all kinds of people, and I feel like I had resources to kind of reflect on that. But what about all the people that didn't? Like, I really feel like that was a huge part of the anxiety, because we smell each other. This is a good smelling group, by the way. I walked in the door, I was like, right? Animals do that. Animals use that sense of smell all the time. And we want those like natural smells, right? We don't want to, Febreze and all that. We're like masking something that's nasty. We do not want to do that. That's why I'm so into smudging, and getting good smudge, not commercial smudge. I want to know where my smudge comes from. So I buy stuff, and I really try to buy stuff from small makers throughout the land. And if they're from other lands, then it's fair trade. They could be like, I don't know, but when that package ends up on my doorstep, I praise it. I praise the people that picked it or made it or whatever, to send the blessings onto them, and to send the blessings onto anyone that buys anything at our place. And I just try to pick out things that sing to my soul, because I think, we're all individuals, but, we all are alike, aren't we? So if I like it, then I buy it from my store. It keeps me from buying a lot of other things. So this is a little like mishmash of things from my store. Some medicinal things, some salts. I had to buy this. This is so beautiful. This Arctic sea salt. This is just a beautiful can. Don't you love a can that you can, like, a container that you can keep for other stuff? It's big, fat, beautiful salt. I made caramels and put that on there. Really, really good. It just has a nice feel to it, the tactileness of it. And yeah, you can keep the can because it's beautiful. These Himalayan stones. So I have them in these 3-packs or single ones. What do you do with it? Well, don't throw it at anyone. You could. Use to wash your hands instead of soap. Use it under your pits. Get it wet. All the little spots. Keep in the shower. I like to have like a little like soap pad underneath. Get that air under there so it will dry off quickly. You can use it for massage. You can add oil to it and use it for massage. And it actually takes a long time for it to wear down. So these are great, and you're massaging your hands just by playing with it. And you can keep it in a little baggie, and you can keep it in your purse, and you can lick it every once in a while. So I have a salt ball, a little small one like this, that I let my son lick. And I'll tell you, any little kids that go into the salt cave, I give them some salt to lick first, because I know otherwise they're going to start licking stuff. And so I get it out of the way and just give them some salt to lick. And then they actually come back for more. They usually ask their mom if they, can get a little salt ball or something like that. Elderberry tonic. And then only 3 bottles of this left after a couple cases. This one has garlic, and you can kind of taste it a little bit. Oh, this stuff's good. It's strong. And such beautiful packaging. I always, I feel like people are
use that for clothes.
Yes, you can use it daily as a prophylactic, preventative, or if you're sick, then you hit it maybe like 3 times a day. I like to take it and add hot water, make a tea with it, versus just doing a shooter. You can add it to any juice, you can add it to any tea. Again, that one, I can taste a little bit of garlic, but I like the garlic. I like the stink of garlic. I don't like garlic has the stink taken out. That stink, that's part of the power. But I thought the kids like it. It's got honey in it. I just got these teas from Colorado. I really like these. And this is my newest, I don't want to say my newest thing, but ginseng, American ginseng. Completely different than Korean. I took Korean ginseng probably 25 years ago. Felt like my heart was going to come out of my chest. It's because it's completely different. And the Chinese love American ginseng. Most of it is grown in Wisconsin down into the Tennessee. This is from Wisconsin. The guy came like an old-fashioned salesman to my door with a suitcase and dropped this off. Good old Wisconsin guy. They've been doing it for like over 100 years in their family. So they figured out how to get the wildcraft ginseng to grow. Great stuff. If you're trying to get off of caffeine, this will give you some zing without that caffeine hit. It is a little drying. We're all a little bit older here, so watch out for that. I add more fat. So it makes a beautiful golden milk. You add turmeric and ginger to this, and then you put some half and half in there. Put some, butter in there. What my, people call magic milk. And it is a wonderful, wonderful tonic. But the American ginseng, the Korean ginseng is very cardiovascular, and they use it basically as like Cialis. Like it's used for libido and erectile dysfunction. This is actually a panacea for everyone. So very different. Helps with circulation, but it goes all over your body, not just a couple areas. So I'm glad that I found ginseng again, and it's the American kind. What else? And I love the, everybody at this point has one of these salt lamps, right? Who doesn't have one of these salt lamps? I love these because you can take them off and you play with it, right? It lasts longer. These lamps, they'll be around 50 years from now. You don't have to put a light bulb in them either. If it's like in a bathroom or a place that's maybe a little more humid, you don't have to put a light in there. It's just going to kind of off gas, and it's going to clean the air. Not the negative ion way that they were talking about, but just, again, it's just kind of sloughing off over time, and really brings like a nice airflow to dead end spaces. So if you got like a little office, or behind your computer or near your computer, a little bathroom, these are great. And again, I like these ones because you got the balls and you can play with it. But all kinds of stuff, everything is kind of like marked down for you guys. These are the only things, these and this would go to $20, but I go down to the nearest 5. I went to a holistic health show earlier in January. Did anybody go to that? That was over in Okemos. It was like a psychic fair. It was really good. It's really good light worker energy there. Is it Rock Your World Productions? She does stuff all over the Midwest. And I guess a lot of the people that showed there, they show at the other places. Great people, like really, really positive energy. And it was great to see men there, not just carrying their wives' coats, and young people, and male, female, and everything in between and around that. And that everybody was welcome there, and it was just a really great experience. So I think I'm going to do more of those shows just to be with my people, right? And shake hands and kiss babies and all that kind of stuff. Is there any way that we can do a little raffle here? Because I brought 2 kitty cats that I want to share with the group. I'm trying to think of some way. Like, anybody have a birthday?
She just had a birthday.
You just
Yes.
had your birthday?
Yes.
Okay, well you're the wiener. You're the winner. So from Greece, we've got these little kitty cats. You put a little stick in their mouth of incense, but they're handcrafted. So who do you want? Yep, there you go. And you want light or dark wood? There you go.
Thank you. Oh, this is
All
so
right, what-
beautiful.
Now,
Dang.
to you too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Since you went into the salt cake, here you go. Welcome to this area. And I do have a message for you. This is I'm sitting behind you. I was trying to scan.
Thank you.
There's a gentleman that is standing between the two of you, so I feel like he's for both of you. He looks a lot like you. Really, really nice guy. Really nice guy. And just want you to know he's right there with you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.